Howdy everyone, this is Kinzer with MPI Exhaust. We're going to show you our updated kit on these Fords, the F300 series. So this fits all F250s and 350s, whether it's a 6.2, 6.8, 7.3. It's all identically the same from the factory. Ford only uses one exhaust system for F150s and for these F350s and F250s. So on our previous version of our kits, we used to have you guys cut right here. The pulse chamber would slide over and clamp. Worked really, really well. Well, to update it, make it a little bit easier for you guys, now you just got to unbolt these two bolts at the top, and then there's actually a slip over joint right here. So on the Ford factory, you take off this rubber grommet because they have it on there kind of backwards. Just two little nuts, take this off. We're gonna reuse this. Don't throw this away, just set it off to the side. And all it does, you pick up on it and it slides right off. Disclaimer, yours isn't gonna have anti-seize on it. This one's been off before. We had to do a fitment on it. So we're gonna leave all the factory rubber grommets in its location. We reuse all of them. Always anti-seize this ball here because when you go to tighten it up, if it wiggles a little bit, it allows it to move and it seats better. Your flange, the very top bolt is a 13 millimeter. The bottom one is a 15 millimeter. So this is our updated pulse chamber for these kits. It reuses the bottom clamps and you're going to reuse your factory bolts. Has the same flange as factory. Flange towards the top. You're going to start both bolts. And here shortly we'll level it up and then get it tightened because you can adjust how level this pulse chamber is just by these clamps. Loosen this one, tighten this one, it's going to move it backwards. The height of the head pipe in the truck, slide it on your pulse chamber. Yes, it will stay, but on your aluminized systems, it's a 2-bolt clamp. On your stainless systems, it's a band clamp. This one is aluminized. So this helps offset the pipe accordingly in the truck. This hanger is always in the exact same location for every single truck. So it basically holds itself, but we'll throw it in there just so you don't have to hold it. These are just a 9/16 when you have to rattle them. When we make these kits, we want them to be straight with the frame rail, and that helps index our mufflers left and right in the truck where we have plenty of room for our tailpipes. I like to put this in the truck to get our height where we want it to, and you can also peak it. It's going to be nice and level with the bottom of your frame rail, but we'll switch back to our 13 millimeter so I can get this flange tightened up here. And you want to suck them up evenly. You don't want to rattle this side and then rattle this side. You want to suck it up evenly. It's a big, nice, heavy flange so you can rattle it. Nothing's going to move or anything. You tighten up your top one first and then tighten the bottom because that bottom one isn't going to move anywhere. It's already where it wants to be. Band clamps require a lot more foot-pounds than a normal clamp just because how it is. You're trying to grab all the excess clamp around 1 bolt versus 2 bolts. So you gotta make sure it's really tight. All of our aluminized kits have a 2-bolt, don't mind the washer, a 2-bolt style zinc coated clamp. The point of the notches is to help the clamp adhere to the pipe to ensure you're gonna have a better sealing joint. So keep your clamp within the notches. It's only a 1-inch notch and your clamp's only like a 1/2 inch wide. And make sure they're indexed at 3 and 6 o'clock to the bottom of the clamp. All clamps are designed where the bottom's nice and flat in the truck. As we're putting this in, and before we get everything 100% where we want it, we're just barely going to rattle it with the 3/8. When we get 100% done and all the tips are level and we're precisely where we want it, we're going to go through and rattle it hard. So as you can see, I have one side tightened up more than the other. There you go. Should be nice, even both sides. There's a little lock washer in there. Get rid of that. They don't do anything. We'll grab our next head pipe and show you what's next. As a reminder, how tight you get this also determines the left and right in the chassis for the rest of the system. So when I put in my hanger, it should be nice and level with the bottom of the truck and nice and level here. Before I had the one side too tight and the other side too loose, where this was way over. But now it's nice and straight like it should be. I got to loosen it and move it back a little bit so it's a nice and even pull, because we want the 2 points in line. Exhaust only bounces up and down. It's not going to move laterally. So we wanted a nice straight pull. If we have this crooked, it's not bad, but we design it where it should be nice and straight with the trucks. A lot of you might have asked by now, because we're to the muffler section, how do we trim the kits per your wheelbase? As to what we've seen through the muffler shop, is nobody ever would order the right wheelbase. Whether it's a miscommunication, they send the wrong one. So to make it easier for you, we send it for maximum wheelbase. On these specific trucks, it's 176. And you're going to trim it shorter. Two things that ensures. One, it's easier to trim it off than it is weld it back on. And then two, you don't have 13 clamp joints for short bed, 4-door, short box, long box. There's too many wheelbase options. I like Ford, but there's too many. So when we measure from the rear end, we always do the round part of the axle tube, not the housing. Shock's right in the way, not out here. A nice straight pull. So to the round part of the rear end, 33 and a half or 33 and an eighth. A little longer is not too bad. So this truck is max wheelbase. It's 176. Plug and play. If you had a shorter one, like let's say a 4-door short box, it's like 11 inches is shorter. But we'll grab our muffler pack. A lot of people ask if these are heavy. No. I mean, that one's a stands hanging it, and this one's just hanging off the pulse chamber. Leave this one loose. So put it on the one side, pick up the other. And my stand is just holding it so I can get my hangers in place. I'm going to double check my measurement, because in case you use a weird muffler, I don't recommend it. In case you do, you have that 19 and a half, where you measure from here to 19 and a half. See, I'm 21. I'm way too far in the muffler. Another thing, we always mark this 2 inches, because we got the volume of the case designed specifically where, for example, if you get this too far in here, it makes a real turbulent flow. And that one's popping out a little too far on me. So axle housing, that's 20 inches. We're off. Come back here, 19 and a half spot on. That 19 and a half ensures several things. One, the mufflers are in the exact same location. So as we've seen over the years, all the weird aftermarket stuff people put on trucks, we already compensate for that. That 19 and a half inch measurement ensures that your mufflers at home when you're installing it is the exact same location as I do it here. So when I program all the tailpipes, they fit precisely. And when you're at home, you're doing it, I know they're going to fit precisely. Whether you have airbags, a flip over ball, a fifth wheel hitch, 99% of the aftermarket items you put on these trucks, we've already compensated for. So that ensures it's going to fit. Yes, there is adjustments to make sure your tailpipes fit accordingly, because your quarter panels change just a little bit. There's a couple small variances that we can make it where it's 100% precise. If we weld the hangers directly on the side of the pipe, you're SOL, because Ford has tolerances. We have a little bit of tolerances. They're never the same. As of what we've seen at the muffler shop, we call it heat and tweak, where you heat this up until it's red hot and we get a 4-foot bar, and we had to tweak a lot of them because no two tailpipes matched on other aftermarket kits, or the mounts get altered. Happens all the time. We had one in here last week. It got altered. Well, you get a 4-foot crowbar, you straighten it the best you can, but it's going to be a different height than Ford. So by having a clamp-on hanger, it gives you that adjustment. So then you don't buy a fancy high-dollar kit and your tailpipes are crooked. You would look goofy. So that's why it's a clamp-on style. And then it's also really easy. I mean, look, I didn't even have to hold this one to clamp this one up in place. It's a lot easier. On your band clamp style, it slides over the end and it's a single bolt band clamp. You gotta rattle it a little bit harder than this style, but they're fairly nice. 409 stainless rod. I mean, they're all stainless. So we'll poke on a couple more clamps because we're at our 19.5. Then we'll start doing tailpipes, the fun portion. So our right rear tailpipe, one piece. There's no trimming. Up and over the axle, into the right side tailpipe or hanger. And I'm going to tell you what I failed to do. You got to mark it at 2 inches so we don't slide it too far in. Then our measurement's going to be a little different. So I do not have a marker. I got to go find a marker. Make sure you have a marker. When you install these, try not to hit the camera person. Usually I got to buy them lunch. So I marked it at 2 inches. 2 inches is just a common number. That's kind of what we shoot for. It gives you enough to clamp to, but not too much where it cuts off flow. And technically we don't need a stand. We'll just grab our hanger number 145. Please reference your sheet in case I got that wrong. We'll slide it into our factory hanger. These ones are fairly good. When you do hit something bad, it bends them right there. And all you gotta do is grab a big crescent wrench and straighten them. But that's why we also make these a clamp-on style, so you can adjust that when it does get bent. Because they always get bent. That's why they're bolt-on, not welded to the chassis. In case you were wondering. So this should be nice and level. Squares itself up. So usually what we do, so we always level, we take a level when, let me double check my mark. Okay, I'm on my mark. We take a level and we level it. The reason why eyeballs are close but they're not precise levels get it very, very good. And then you don't have to have one person on the bucket leveling it. So we'll get it relatively in the ballpark. This should be nice and level and flat. The closer you get it now, the easier it will be. And that's relatively level. And then we'll go up here, and to maintain clearance on our shock, I got to scoot my mufflers over a little bit. That's adjustable. Yours should fit fairly easy. I'm just taking my stand, moving it off, rotating the stand up in here. I don't like mentioning that. Give me a second. And the only thing we're going for here is level, and then maintain where this is nice and flat, which gives you plenty of room on your heat shield. Thin your hanger nice and square. We'll tighten the rear of the muffler since our tailpipe is level. And then what we'll do is on these updated kits, we'll show you the measurements and then how the tip fits. The tips on these ones fit 10 times better. So on this is behind tire because it's behind the tire. So we have it tucked up nice and tight, so if you ever go off in the ditch or back up in the snowdrift, it's all tucked up nice and tight, limits the amount of issues, or limits the amount of this moving. So the pipe from the bottom of the quarter panel to the weird plastic protector, we're about 2 inches. Hopefully that gives you an idea. From, let's say, the spare tire here, we're out 12.5 inches. Gives you a nice good idea. A lot of time, if you have the big campers that go in the back of your truck, I don't know the name of them. Usually it bolts right here, so that still gives you plenty of room. But on our tips, how far should they stick out? On a dually, mark 2-3 inches and clamp it right there. Because on a dually, you have all the boxes all the same. They just have a fender flare on them. I'm not a body guy, don't quote me, but that seems what they do. And you just clamp it on, and then it gives you enough clearance for all your dually stuff. Well, you can also, up until here's the bend, you can put it, right here's the bend, you can put it all the way in there. That's going to be a little on the tight side. You can do it. We like to make it about flush with the outside of the tire, so right about there is going to be a really good appearance. You don't have it stick outside the side of the tires. We give you lots of adjustment here. That would be a dually. You know, the furthest you can go in is right about there, which is, it's a little too far under. Usually we put it right there. And since we already leveled this, all you have to do is put your band clamp on, orient the clamp. Usually we do it towards the front so you can't see it. Sometimes if you want, you can do it on the top. These are just a standard 15 millimeter 409 stainless, 304 stainless tip on our aluminized systems. These are a powder coated black tip. We have a break-in process so they don't discolor on you. Sounds goofy, works awesome. We found it by accident. But let me get the tip in the band clamp. On all band clamps, they have a aluminum. It comes in a stock, so it, you know, like a bar stock, and we shear it to length. It seems to always be in the way. So it just slides on. I'm gonna say on this truck, it's gonna be right off the bottom. So that's where I would set it if I was doing the install. We're precisely 3 inches from the edge of the quarter panel. Now, this is where the adjustable hangers really come in play. Like Ford, they have tolerances. The worst I've ever seen is 1.5 inches difference left or right. Yeah, but we kind of got a factor for that to make it where it looks the same, because you don't want your quarter panels to be like this and then your tips be nice and straight. If you match them to, in your head, you're going to think about it, but you're never going to see it. So, as of right now, we always put the logo to the top because then the drain hole is on the bottom. These are a single wall. They got a rolled edge. Make sure before you heat cycle your tips, all the oils on it may hurt the finish. So make sure you clean it off. We always use like a glass cleaner, something like that. Don't use brake clean. Brake clean's a little hard on them. I guess depending on the brake clean. The brake clean most people use is hard on them. But we'll set it at a magical 3 inches. Voila. Now I got it bolted up. It's going to square it up nice and level at the end of our tip. We don't have to trim off any extra. I've already compensated for that. Just going to clear your mud flap, clear your weird gooseneck ball thing. We got plenty of clearance around our hanger here. Tighten this up, of course. And we're going to go do our left side. Right side's easy. Very easy. Left side, it's not hard. It just takes a couple more minutes to do all your measurements where they match. It's like falling off a rock. They're fairly easy. They're definitely not hard. but we'll go do that side next. So we have to two-piece our left-hand tailpipe. Two things. One, if we made it a one-piece, it would give you 0 adjustment. So if you had any different type of ball, except for the same exact truck we have, you'll be SOL. 2, there's no way to ship it. It'd be like 17 feet. Like it's too much. Clearly, the 17 feet's an exaggeration. But long story short, can't get it in a box, cannot get it in the truck. Unless you want to pull the rear end. And I don't want to pull the rear end. So I got to make a 2-inch mark. There's a microphone in my pocket, which isn't usually there. I'm still not used to the microphone. And we slide it in 2 inches to our lovely mark. So as you can see, your flip over ball would be right here. Clears it. This one don't have it for some reason. I don't know. Every truck's different. But it'd clear your flip over ball. And another thing, we're not fully installed yet. We can actually tilt it a little bit and gain a little bit more clearance in case you have some weird aftermarket one. We account for 99% of that. There's always 1% I've never seen, and they're really weird. They're not going to last very long. So we'll grab our right-hand tailpipe, but we're working on the left. So technically it's a left-hand tailpipe, but I'm looking at you, so it's my right. But on the cheat, it's left. So get that figured out. I'll grab my pipe. So on the 2011 to 16 model, we reused the factory Torx that they use for the cross member because they got a Torx in the middle and Torx on the side. Well, these ones don't have that Torx. So where we put the bolt, there's a square tube. And then you got your chassis, and we put it right in the middle. Pre-drill it like we use an 1/8 inch drill bit. So you put your hanger block that we add, we call it an 07. Generically, we call it an 07. We've been using this since 2007. It works phenomenal. Put it right where the square tube lines up. Use your self-tapper. Technically, you can bolt it. Have at it. I don't provide a bolt. You can definitely use one. We push from the inside out in your rubber grommet there. Put a little lube. It slides right in. Then your tailpipe comes straight out. Okay. So once we get this installed, we'll take all these standoffs off and we'll zip tie them all together, and they never touch the exhaust. That's what, I mean, I've been doing it forever. They will never touch. 2 things. 1, you do not need a heat shield on the spare tire. 2 reasons. 1, as long as it doesn't rub on the spare tire, it doesn't hurt the spare tire. Well, it's an added heat. But you got to think, we took from a single exhaust pipe with all the heat, now we have a lot less heat because there's 2 of them, right? Technically, it lowers under hood temperature 150 degrees, and that's way up there at the front. Well, back here, it's cold enough. I've never seen an issue. There's 270,000 miles on my truck. It's had it on there for like 100,000 miles of it. 0 issues. You can put this in before, after, whichever. Goes in that rubber block. Please note, once it's installed, paint your rubber block black so it matches the chassis. The rubber block is tight. It is new. And it's in place. This is part number 144. They don't pay me to count. They pay me to run a bender. No, I pay myself, actually. This is part number 103 going into part number 53. Notice how the numbers don't match up because we've updated this over the years. Oh, look at that. Slides right in place. One nice thing is with the height of it, the only thing we got to adjust here is our rotation, and then we got to level it. There's 2 parts. You can adjust both of them, but that's going to adjust your rotation. Oh, it slid out of the muffler. What I like to do as an installer, I don't put this hanger clamp on just yet because it gives you so much adjustment, because I want my 2 tips to match. When I measure left to right on my tips, it's a balance. Sometimes I measure off of the ground, sometimes I measure off of the quarter panel. It depends on how crooked the quarter panel is. What you can do, don't quote me on this one because the truck is really long. I'm on ramps. You can, if you're on a level surface, you can check your quarter panels. But we'll throw a level on there. Like for example, like there we're nice and level. And if we get this sucked up a little bit, one nice thing, this sets 90% of our height. We got a little wiggle room there. So we set where we're level. Please note, on alumni systems, your part number 103, the seam of the pipe will always be towards the bottom. In case you stick the opposite end up into your axle pipe and it looks way out of whack, the seam is always towards the bottom. On a stainless system, 99.99% of the time, it's always towards the inside of the bend. Yes, we're at our 3 inches, but we're not level. This is where that axle pipe has to roll up a little bit, and then it'll make us level. We'll have the same distance out, and we'll have the same height. The closer, once you set the end of your pipe, because I got these set in the same exact locations, your tip just slides on. You don't have to measure. Roll this up a little bit. And on this joint in here, make sure you're all the way in. We do 3 measurements. We have your turnout from the tire. We have your height measurement, which is always set by the hanger, which we're spot on 3 inches. And then your levelness. Leave the axle pipe loose in the muffler, and then if you're running uphill, like for example, I was running uphill, roll your axle pipe back or forward. And then when it's nice and level, which I'm not 100% there, so I got to go up there, roll it forward a little bit more. What would that be? It'd be counterclockwise in the muffler a little bit, and that adjusts your levelness. It's already set at 3 because of our hanger. And then this is where the stand is really nice. And I bumped it, so now I gotta... You can really tell where you're at too. So like there, I'm off. Relatively close. And I go over here to my top of my axle and I roll it a little inwards, which would take the edge of this down, and I need it the other way because my way is the opposite of how you're seeing it on your screen. And one nice thing is I can see it from back here. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of insight how I set these. When me and Mike install these, I usually set all the tailpipes and he usually spots or welds. And when it's not me or Mike installing, I still set the tailpipes because I am meticulous. We're at 3 inches. So sometimes that's not a good measurement. You can measure off the floor, you can measure off the bed if it's a good consistent part. But like right there, we seem nice and level. I'll double check with my gauge. It needs to roll that way just a little bit. And there's always adjustment in every connection until you tighten it. So once you get it snugged up there, it's nice to put the clamp on next. And then when you get your clamp, you always have a little bit of adjustment in your hanger here. So you can get them precise. If I weld this on, I weld that one on, you're at the 100% mercy of a lot, or not very much. They are where they are. The only way to adjust them is get a 6-foot round piece of rod, and shove it in the end of the tailpipe here, and you got to either sit on it, stand on it, pull it forward, or pull it back. That's why we don't weld them on, because they're never two the same. I've never seen two trucks the same. And anyways, when you set your tip on here, yes, I got to do my 2 clamps, but just to show you, when you put your tip on here, I'd put this on the inside just so you don't see it. Like for example, when this bottoms out, it's the same on that side. So that's what's majorly updated. And then of course for the dualies, when it's slid all the way out, it gives you plenty of clearance. They're the exact same offset for each side. They're not different left or right. Okay. So all the notches in every axle pipe is where this is towards the inside. So I can get my gun on it precisely, nice and easy. If I rotate them any which way, you're either in the shock or in the spare tire. And then you can't get your gun on it. And then you're ratcheting it with a 14 millimeter. Please note, it says right here on the side of the gun, impact wrench. That means it also is a hammer. Voila, we're nice and level. Our height should be 99. Yeah. We're 3 inches bottom of the quarter panel, assuming they're nice and level. So when you're setting these tips, you want to make them, get them lined up on here. We like to put them on the inside, kind of tucks them up. We always put the nut towards the bottom. And remember, on your Milwaukee guns, it says right on the side, 3/8 compact impact driver, okay? It says impact in the name. This is not recommended by me. It is by Milwaukee. It's an impact driver. And like that, you can install your exhaust tip. For the people who's going to comment and say that's not an impact driver, or it's not a hammer, I'm not using it as a hammer. I'm using it as an impact device. There is a difference. And if it makes you feel better, I ain't going to read the comments.
Join us today at MPIExhaustTechnologies.com.